We could do like a 2x3 grid of Pringles memes on this. I found a really good one that had him like yelling, "Joigu, Yerasima," pointing out the window at a missile. It was very dark, also very funny.
Okay, guys, about help by sector. So, like, we have like financial sector, military sector, and humanitarian sector, right? We're talking about. So, let's like we probably discussed mostly like about the military sector, but the Americans do not only military one, but we probably should mention the point of 2014 when Ukraine finally got rid of our last dictator and we got sort of free, but got into the fight with Russians immediately. So from that, I just don't know how to reference it, like from what sector that help was, but the reforms that we went through from 2014 till 2022, let's say, let's like mark the time of the like full-scale invasion as the time that we're aiming to. So the reforms that we made thanks to the help of most likely, I believe, the United States was quite, it's not big, it's just one word. So we got into the like World Trade Organization for us. So it's a really big help for Ukrainians. So you don't think that help is something just shipped from one continent to another. The help is something that created opportunities for Ukrainians and for many Ukrainians. So it doesn't mean that something was beneficial only for government. So we need to understand that the help that we've got from 2014, like literally made us produce, for instance, those two missiles with which we hit the Moscow submarine, because that was entirely new development of the missile. So we were talking about
the Neptunes that you guys like rigged into a that's not their initial orientation. That's supposed to be a surface to air missile, right? Did you guys like just reprogrammed into something else?
Like, people had no choice. Like you work with whatever you have. So you need to be creative or die. So people try to be creative at the beginning. So we got like into free trade organization. We got into the like free trade union with European Union, right? We got free trade agreement with Canada. And I don't know, I haven't found anything about the States, but I think it's about the like also about free trade. Also, we got free visa regime with the European Union, which is a big deal for Ukrainians because we finally get to able to see what's going on around us. Not only Russians, which was the poor copy of the Soviet Union with the free trade with the rest of the world, right? And like speaking of, I just don't know how to classify it by sector, because it was the reforms which was like sort of, in my opinion, exchanged for financial help. So that was trade. That was trade, like from the like some like IFM, if I'm not mistaken. Is it right?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think you can call it. Yeah, it's the IFM. I think you could just call it by type, I guess. Like we're having this. I'm not sure how you want to classify it, but I understand what you mean in terms of like strictly financial aid. In terms of both just the
so the financial aid was transformed into the many sort of directions where Ukrainians got to be creative, because like that opened Western borders for us, that changed the country to the way actually you know it right now. Because I remember Ukraine before and after, and that was two different countries. And like speaking of like, again, like there are like only three sectors. It's military, financial, and humanitarian. And military was very small and were poorly represented before 2022, before the February events. But the financial part was quite beneficial, and like the financial part like bought us time to prepare for the invasion, like to whoever was expecting it. So speaking of aid by sector, so like I wouldn't classify it. So if I had to, guys, you can cut it, right?
Yeah, we can cut it off.
Please do so, because I got lost into between two of my thoughts.
I mean, there was a lot of direct and indirect, like direct and indirect economic benefits, right?
Like indirect economic benefits, and for Ukrainians, actually, like we got to be like we got like the stupid example, we got to see like a Peace Corps volunteers, right? The most probably vivid would be where we met each other. So like for Ukraine, that was like big changes that we have never hoped before, because we didn't understand what free market, what opportunity free market could give you, and open borders, of course. So for us, that was something like very like natural for the European countries after Second World War, and when we got only a fraction of it, right? Just an opportunity.
Yeah.
So that changed the feeling of feedback of reality for many Ukrainians, because this was the final free trade. We like each of our domain of our economy developed and multiplied. So you cannot say that like okay, with traditionally we sell like wheat, and like after Soviet Union with all these plants and factories we sell the iron, but with free trade we got to be able to say to sell for example labor, because many like Western brands, they came into Ukraine, and then we got our people like jobs, which are
I can't imagine how that's so good.
yeah, so like that's something that wouldn't be possible like at all. So many of Ukrainians finally received an opportunity to work at home, and it seems like it's very little, but we had way more these spikes of opportunities for Ukrainians, where I want to say took a benefit, but like that's really wrong word, because like that like allowed to people to establish like businesses and changed like the lives even in small communities. Because like I don't want to provide with examples how like Danone came to Ukraine, like what they started to do, and like it's a bit irrelevant, but because like the American aid was mostly about the opening our like borders.
Which just like to your point, I can't imagine how much easier it was, because just for people to not to know, there is a considerable seasonal based there was rather labor force in Ukraine that would just go back and forth to Poland and go back and forth to certain areas in Europe. And that just the removing of the visa, the mandatory visa for Ukrainians, it's just instant prosperity, right? For so many people. And it's almost crazy how when you allow people to, you give people conditions in which they can live prosperous and stable lives, people will take advantage of that instead of having to scrape. Unless you're used to the kind of like mafia style gangland Russia bullshit that they propagate over there. But
yeah, so technically we got the most changes when Russia stopped being the biggest trade partner.
Yeah,
because it was taken from us like up to 40% of our export, and when that's stopped, we like quite fast, I would say, in the time of few years, we like transformed our trade with Western countries.
Yeah, because you can keep your talent for yourself. Yeah, the Russians probably weren't.
Yeah, it was painful. That was with lots of propaganda from Russia, because still like we're used to share lots of resources that we were like calibrating our views with the real situation around us. But now it's completely different, and it will be different. So maybe we'll have an episode about that. So yeah, let's maybe switch to the land leases topic, because that was fun, and because it started way before I want to say Ukraine got involved into the Second World War, but it is only partially true, because Ukraine in Second World War, it's like what Ukraine in the Second World War was already part of the war, right? When it started.
Depends on which side. Yeah.
Yeah, like for the Soviet part of Ukraine, it was like what is that, July 22, June 22, like, but for the Western Ukraine, it was September 17 of 1939, and like that's already kind of says a lot. And when we're speaking about land lease, that land lease started like the thoughts about land lease started when the United Kingdom asked for help the government of the United States of America, and it was 1940s. And but this is not the coolest part, because like definitely the Nazi Germany was quite too strong for the continent, and without the states' help, like nothing would happen. Nothing good would happen for the entire continent. But
don't tell that to the Europeans. Do not tell that to the Europeans. They do not like that line.
Well, that's fun when you like. Sometimes you want to tell them because you want this reaction to hear, just to see the how comfortable people are in their countries and they don't understand the real struggle of the time. So speaking of the Lend Lease, the most beautiful part of it that was when someone from the United States realized that they can provide the same help with the same condition for different countries, for different allies. So, and this is the point when we understand how game started, and probably the biggest obstacle was logistics, because logistics for Ukraine is kind of simple. So you ship something to Poland or Germany, and from Germany, Poland, goods and things are shipped to Ukraine, and like you have no that problem. But back then, the logistic was like Europe itself was kind of obstacle for the United States to ship things and goods for the Western front of the Soviet Union. So they got few ways, and the shortest path was through the Arctic Sea, through the north. But that was the most
Arctic
dangerous.
Sea?
Yeah, North
like
Sea, North.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it took around like only 17 days. So, but that was extremely dangerous because Germans already controlled the area.
So they were up in Scandinavia already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very dangerous, and they discovered that the second path that was taken through Pacific Ocean and through Iran, because Iran wasn't always that crazy country with dictatorship and being aggressive to everyone around. Iran was like normal developed country, like by normal standards.
That was before the totalitarian theocracy set in. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the time was for shipping things and goods was only like 50 days. Which was way longer than through the north, but 50 days, and that was considered yes, from the United
States across the Pacific through the Silk Road.
Yeah,
and then holy shit,
50 days, and you thought, okay, that was nice. The third one was even like longer, like, and people usually don't mention it. But again, the pretty part that they realized that they can ship not only like military aid or something, they like parts of like plants and factories for ship, not only like goods or uniforms, like not only cars, not only like trucks, like everything. And they agreed with the Soviet Union, and no one wanted to do it because like Soviet Union was considered as the former ally of Nazi Germany. No one wanted to do it, so they did it through the middleman, which was like the United Kingdom and the UK, and the help was meant for the UK, but with different route of like delivery. So it got to the point when the war started and everything. Like sometimes I saw the like American trucks are still used on Ukrainian front line, and they were delivered from Baltics. Like I saw at least two from the Second World War. Yes, still working, still on the right side. So yeah, and when wait a second, yeah, when the war was over. And that was over like only because of the Lend Lease and the United States help. So the Soviet Union didn't want to admit the bill that was presented to Soviet Union.
Totally shocked me.
Yeah, that was like $2 billion, which now you think, okay, it's not that big money, and for the scale of the war, I believe it wasn't back then. But the fun part is that the Lend Lease was the issue with Lend Lease and like the bill and the payment was only dealt and like finished, done in 2006, a year before Putin's Munich speech.
You're telling me?
Yeah.
No. You're telling me they just finished paying for it in 2006?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Lend Lease, it's yeah, I understand that it got a bit of time to like negotiate everything, but that wasn't the initial number at all, because then back in 70s, before the Cold War, that was decreased to like $1.7 billion and everything, but it was only like a few transactions. And
you're saying that, okay, I have a hard time like not seeing Stalin just saying like wanting to throw another 5 million more men into hole.
Yeah.
As opposed to putting on a deal like that, as opposed to signing up for a deal like that. But okay, I'm learning a lot about the history now.
Sorry about that. And like,
yeah, sorry that you're learning history. But
yeah, and
I'll accept the sorry from the Canadian resident. I will not accept the sorry from. I don't care how close where you live is. Not Canadian, sir.
We're just Canadian
Well,
light.
so speaking of the lend lease to like with the modern war that we have, so I think it will also take some time, but still it's a kind of debt to Ukraine.
Comment, the way that you just spoke into the microphone was really sultry just then. I just want you to know. Because you had this like raspy going on thing with your voice, and it was deep and it was like sensual. Okay, back on topic.
Talk to me about weapons trade corridors.
I feel I need to
Yes.
I feel I need to apologize.
This is no longer the same. You are now sounds extra angry.
Well, the
Okay.
last one was the Russian war criminal ASMR podcast. This one can be the World War II weapons logistics ASMR podcast.
Sultry
Guys,
ASMR.
I will do a better job. I promise. I will have better prepared bullet points.
I can only
Where
get so
person-
erect with your voice right now. Talk to me about Lend-Lease, Daddy.
We're like
Usually-
kind of fucking with you a little.
I'm sorry.
But there's such a difference that close to the mic.
Yeah, they're actually
Like, it's
really
a
close.
huge difference on our end.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference.
Well, people always get asleep when I talk via phone.
No,
so
no,
I don't
no,
talk.
no.
I don't talk via phone. I prefer to chat.
Drifting them off into a wet dream.
It's not a joke.
So offended. Okay, I'll just turn my mic off.
Is it
No.
better?
It's slightly less erotic, so I think we might be able to maintain focus.
I need to apologize. I need to prepare cards with like I apologize.
Okay,
Apologize.
we're doing an apology cap. We're implementing
Yeah,
an
yeah.
apology
So,
cap
guys,
for
so-
the future podcast.
Yeah. Sorry about all this like edits that
No, it's
that
good.
need to be performed. So speaking of the land,
Anyway, sorry.
yeah. So like with the modern American like aid to Ukraine, actually, I'm really happy that the Ukraine will be like happy in the normal way that Ukraine will be in debt to the states, because for Ukrainians it means not the only that we own somebody something in this case money, but it also means for us that the government of the United States will assist with anything and any reforms that Ukraine needs to get their money back.
So Lend-Lease is just through the US government, correct? Sorry, Ben, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So far, yes.
Good question.
It's called. Let me see how like it's called Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act of 2022.
All right, yes, that's good.
So this is the only document that we have about Lend-Lease, and it explains what it does, and there is no like much of conditions. So what
the way to estimate the costs that are coming back to the United States as like a percentage fraction, or is it all kind of up in the air right now because the total US aid is still undefined?
Yeah, it's not undefined, and like as like we mentioned a few times before, so sometimes the US aid is a reaction. So because it's impossible to estimate the budget of the war, because no one knows when it ends, or what is definition of a victory or of the end of the war. So we cannot do that. That's why Lend-Lease is sort of an act that is ongoing on, and the bill will be presented afterwards. But still, it's not.
Let me echo this back. You're implying that people in the United States government who are experts in both military technology and the procurement of it have been willing to engage Ukraine into a long-term interdependent relationship regarding weapons funding.
Well, I would consider it as something not just help for the democracy like worldwide, but it's something that United States can stand like with their allies together. So because it's not only the money that Ukraine needs, it's also the demonstration to the rest of the world with unclear or any other intentions of aggressions towards neighbors or other territories, that United States will help to the country that require help. So it's way bigger than just some money help.
Yes. Take note, clowns of the internet.
Well, we need like all the clowns like in the world. Come on, we really need them.
We do. They provide perspective.
And rage.
Can't doom scroll without doom, without a sense of doom.
It's true. Then I wouldn't have it in the do every single night for 3 hours before I fall asleep. It's a
just
very
drink.
unhealthy habit. Well, no, it's always with drinking.
There you
On
go.
a upper note, though, I am not hungover today, and that is solely we're doing this. So
We go. So we need to drink on the next podcast then. We need
That's a
two
great
standard
idea.
drinks an hour. And that's a natural time cap.
I vote
'Cause
that the
we-
next time that we have our episode, we could have a drinking game on here where we talk about our personal experiences when it comes to Ukraine war. Like Ben, your story, I feel like it literally needs to be. We should talk about it if you're okay with doing it. And then I
maybe
have
Okay.
some
later
fun
down the
things.
line. There's so many more important stories out there.
Yeah,
that
but it also
we
puts in
could do-
perspective as to who is speaking. And like
It's me.
we haven't really done too much
And
about
Ben.
who we are and what we're bringing to the table when it comes
No.
to why we're doing the
Guys, I
Anyway,
cannot
that's
drink.
down the road. You cannot drink?
No, I'm getting deaf when I'm drunk.
I can attest to this personally, but I will say that the compensation in terms of output is more than worth it. Oh my god.
We're gonna do
I
a
will never
pilot.
forget our time, the time we were in your apartment and you started going off about like with another friend of ours who's from Poland about like the role of Stepan Bandera, and that was some of the funniest shit I have ever seen.
Sebastian.
Yes. He
Oh,
was
Jesus.
Come on,
Oh
I
my
had
God,
arguments from
Sebastian.
Polish Wikipedia.
Sebastian, man, I should tell stories about Sebastian. He is the only
Yeah.
wait, I gotta think about this. I'm fairly certain he is the only dude in Ukraine who is not even Ukrainian who has seen my dick. And I will tell you the story later. We're
He's
probably
in
gonna cut
Poland,
this out.
so they're not allowed to talk about this, and we should definitely not cut it out now. You can't jinx it. Come on.
He got a really good, accurate representation of my penis. I just want to put that out there right now. So, our time when it comes to the Lend-Lease Act has this, and you're saying that it kind of goes into the, you think as a Ukrainian that it's positive that we will have these kinds of debts specifically to the U.S. government.
It's positive, yes, and it will be positive. It is positive, like for
Yeah.
for many reasons. Because now this land lease, this some instance that impossible to estimate. So we cannot
Yeah.
say land lease. It's like X billion dollars.
Yeah, and it
So
also sounds
it-
like in a historical context, it also lends itself to being a positive instead of a negative.
Yeah, that's a positive thing for people from like in like 100 years from now, when
Yeah.
we're already dead, right?
Yeah.
But it is a positive thing because like all countries that used lend lease or any help from the United States, most of them are fine normal countries that we travel to. So this is a very good sign. So
Actual
we
functional diplomacy.
yeah, I mean, like it's difficult not to use any examples, but look just Europe, because Europe used the full scale of lend lease and help after the Second World War, and Europe functions as a normal continent more or less. Okay, so
Wrapping up on that bit, or do you have more to talk about? Yeah.
no.
Do you have another section?
9.
9. Oh
Oh.
boy. All right. So this is it's all lent itself pretty well for this last section here. And so as I mentioned when we first started talking, is I did the majority of my digging on foreign investments into Ukraine right now. And there's a lot of contention online and in the court of public opinion about whether or not it's a good thing that certain things are developing in the I guess financial foreign investment sector of Ukraine specifically. And here's a picture of Zelensky. I believe that this is taken when Zelensky was, I got to bring up my notes really quick. 1 second. Where did they go? I found it. Yeah. So this is like December 2022. BlackRock, very contentious name to people on the internet who may or may not actually know what they do, where they come from, what their plans are. But in this photo, BlackRock is, honored to be assisting the Ukrainian people by advising the government on the launch of the Ukraine Development Fund. So we're going to get into that a little bit. And so what interests me, what piqued my interest is that the same kind of, I don't know, you could call it rhetoric, I suppose, online that people used to talk about BlackRock and BlackRock investments is very much the same as how people think of like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and vaccines. Bill is an evil, tyrannical cyber lord who wants to inject everybody with microchips and stuff like that. BlackRock
Lizard
is
cyber lord.
Yeah, exactly. BlackRock is an evil worldwide bank basically that just wants to suck up all of the property, housing, everything that's happening in America right now. It kind of boils down to everybody wants somebody to blame. Now, whether or not the blame on BlackRock and the fear of what's going to happen in the future of Ukraine because of BlackRock, whether or not it's founded, I don't know. I just I don't know. I don't pay attention to economics enough. I'm not a bank person personally. I get anxiety whenever I open up my checking account. Yes, Ben, you have a question.
I have a question. Is this the people that are, is this like a serious commentary where people are coming and trying to be judgy about this? Or is this like
Well,
QAnon,
we're gonna
Rothschild's anti-Semitic thing?
it kind of leans into both of those spheres, and we're going to kind of get into that a little bit.
Okay.
So instead of like looking at BlackRock itself in the history of BlackRock and the investments that they've had, it's just too big of a topic. Now, it's not an impossible thing to cover, but I was much more interested on who in BlackRock is making these kinds of decisions. And that brings us to Fink. Who the fuck is Fink? Fink is he is the CEO and founder of BlackRock. He's not a very public person, and so the little bit of information I have about him, I think, lends decent context to where we are today when it comes to BlackRock and Ukraine. And so Fink, he started in 1976 when he stepped into the high stakes world of finance at First Boston, a New York-based investment bank. And it's there that he made his mark as one of the pioneers in mortgage-backed securities trading, and eventually rose to manage the entire bond department. And some people are saying that he added a large $1 billion bottom line item to the bank in those days. In 1988, Fink embarked on a new venture under the corporate umbrella of the Blackstone Group. And together with his colleagues, he founded BlackRock and assumed the roles of director and CEO. So fast forwarding to 2009, BlackRock made a groundbreaking acquisition. They purchased Barclays Global Investors, catapulting themselves into the stratosphere of the largest money management firm in the world.
Why do I not know about these people? They bought Barclays?
Yeah, this just doesn't stop there. So this move shook the financial world, and it basically solidified Fink as a financial titan. They are the largest in the world. In his influence extends beyond just finance. So in December of 2016, he took a surprising turn by joining a business forum convened by then President-elect Donald 45. And this forum was tasked with providing strategic and policy advice on economic matters, showcasing Fink's versatility in both finance and politics. Fink's impact isn't limited to the boardrooms and political circles. In his annual open letter to CEOs in 2018, he advocated for corporations to actively contribute to environmental improvement, community welfare, and workforce diversity. All of these amazing buzzwords that you'd probably find in any sort of like geopolitical college course when it comes to thinking of the people over, like just the
inclusion and
yeah, absolutely. Now, well founded, this is an important conversation to have depending on which sector you're in. I'm not knocking it at all, but we're going to go a little bit further into that later. So
if you're actually implementing the conversation,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And this is where the contention may lie a little bit. So he was pushing for a whole new role for business in society. That's been his thing since 2018. And even though I mentioned earlier that he was on the board for Donald Trump's, what is it that I called it? The Business Forum.
Donald 45.
Donald 45.
The off-brand whiskey made by offering Trump hotels.
It's not bottom shelf, but it's just above it. So Fink is, let me put this out there. He is a solid Democrat. He always has been. So him being on this forum is interesting, but his role in the forum was literally there for being an advisor. I don't know what he did. I didn't look into it that much. It doesn't matter at this point in time because he's, Donald 45 is doing his 45 thing. So Fink's impact, or I'm sorry, let me back up here really quick. So I just got done covering about how in 2018 he was advocating for corporations to be more environmentally conscious. In 2020, Fink took another bold step. He declared environmental sustainability as a core goal for BlackRock's future investments. He emphasized how climate would drive economic dynamics, affecting every facet of the economy. He revealed plans to sever ties with investments that pose significant environmental risks, including thermal coal. So all of these, stepping into the future, redirecting investment opportunities and trying to be green about things. But let's, go for it.
Can I raise hand here? I'm losing track of what this guy does just because there's so much going on. So this guy's functioning like a venture, he's a venture capitalist. What is he doing?
Basically, that's BlackRock is just,
advisor.
It's an investment firm. And so it'll probably become a little more clear about what he actually does as the CEO and founder of BlackRock and what he's doing with BlackRock once I get to the plan for Ukraine.
Okay.
This is just kind of, you know,
Okay.
giving a little bit of background context and the kind of things that he has purported in the past. And additionally, basically, who he is as the head of basically the World Bank elite in a way. He has so much influence.
Okay.
His influence
Oh.
is just beyond just government, politics, and money. Like he is, I don't know who you would possibly compare him to. Like he's a new name to me, but he shouldn't be. Like his name should
When you say World Bank, do you just mean like the World, capital W, Bank, capital B, or do you mean just the banks of the world?
just the head investment firms of the world. The World Bank is a whole separate thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so his influence goes beyond, like I said, I'm sorry, his influence goes beyond financial markets. And he, like I had mentioned earlier, it extends into the realm of government. And so I'm gonna list off these facts, and I'm just curious what your guys' reaction is going to be. So BlackRock under Fink played a very pivotal role in cleaning up after the 2008 financial meltdown, which raised questions, of course, about potential conflicts of interest regarding government contracts awarded without competitive bidding. Now let's go a little bit further. Fink's relationship with senior government officials like Tim Geithner and his aspirations to serve in the federal government, including a potential role as Hillary Clinton's Treasury Secretary, have raised some eyebrows. I know. Well, let me keep going. So it's a dynamic that's
Why do these people have cartoon villain last names? I'm sorry.
Right?
It's
You're not wrong, though. He's been described as a revolving door between BlackRock and the federal government. That is the more of a role, I suppose. So we're going to back up a little bit. Fink, or BlackRock for that matter, are they infallible based on everything that they've done, everything they've come to? And you know, they were asked to clean up after like the 2008 financial crisis. Well, in 2006, BlackRock made a colossal $5.4 billion purchase of Stuyvesant Town Peter Cooper Village, a Manhattan housing complex. It was the largest residential real estate deal in U.S. history at that time. However, the project ended in default. BlackRock's clients, including the California pension and retirement system, suffered over $500 million in losses. That was 2006. And then 2008, he was brought in to help clean up the mess of the 2008 financial crisis. I do not know how much more BlackRock is involved in all of that stuff. There was a bit of a gap in between what happened between 2006, 2008. What happened to him? What happened to people? What kind of, I don't know. Yeah. This is a whole other big hole to dive into, but I don't know. It's just an interesting little tidbit of information and something that caught my eye, but I didn't have enough time to try to go into what was happening in between those 2 years. So that was the first criticism. That's one thing that happened that proves that obviously BlackRock is not infallible, because the reason that they defaulted is because they did not make accurate economic predictions. No one can see the future, of course, and that's kind of interesting when it comes to a big entity like this, because usually you probably assume that the game is being rigged in some way, shape, or form. But 2008, 2009 financial crisis kind of changed it a little bit. Let's talk about criticisms before we get to Ukraine. This is a picture of, well, I'll explain it here in a second. So despite Larry Fink's grand promises about climate action and achieving a net zero world, his company has faced criticism for profiting from deforestation, a major contributing to rising emissions. And even more controversially, BlackRock has voted against shareholder resolutions advocating for climate action while pursuing federal government funds that could be allocated to climate projects. In the eyes of some critics, this has earned Fink a place on what The Guardian, the news outlet, The Guardian's list of climate villains. He was called the banker of all climate villains. It's a stark reminder that financial powerhouses often find themselves at the intersection of profit and environmental responsibility. But that's not all. BlackRock's investments choices have drawn public protests. Members of the peace group Code Pink, who you see in this picture right here, have targeted Fink over BlackRock's investments in major weapon manufacturing, including Boeing, General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon. All things that we have talked about.
Why is he?
The way that
mostly live on government contracts, don't they? What the hell is this guy doing? Getting involved with like Lockheed and I'm assuming
it's the investment part of things, and so I'm going to get there. 1 second. Let me just get through this next portion, and then I'll tell you what his response and his rebuttal was. So
I got a lot of questions. I'll just shut up.
No, you're good, man. No worries. One incident involved one of these protesters storming a stage during a conference with a sign that read, "Fink divest from war, stop the killing. BlackRock acknowledges its investments in gun stocks." explaining that many of these shares were held in index funds. And so his exact response was, yes, we have these here, but this is not my money. I do not control where the money goes. I do not control what investors want to invest in. And the company emphasized that index providers determined which companies were included. So that kind of washes his hands of the entire thing, right? Yes, no, I don't know. Beyond financial controversies, BlackRock found itself in the spotlight during Ukraine's post-war reconstruction efforts back in December of last year, 2022. Ukraine's president, Zelensky, announced a partnership with BlackRock to coordinate foreign investment in the country's reconstruction. Critics of this have kind of likened it to quote-unquote disaster capitalism, which is from The Shock Doctrine, Rise of Disaster Capitalism, a book by Naomi Klein. I don't know her correct pronunciation of the name, Medea Benjamin. She's the co-founder of Code Pink, who you see on the screen right now. She accused BlackRock of trying to cash in on the disaster in Ukraine. But as we learn more about this, after I get to this next few sections, this is the main thing that I have kind of come to a conclusion on, is that an investment firm, a bank, capitalists like this, their main goal is to make money. But the fact that BlackRock is made this deal with Ukraine's government, it means that they are gambling on an assured victory for Ukraine. If there's no victory, there's no profit. So just kind of with that in mind, keep it in the back of your minds. I'm going to come back to that here in a second. So what is the investment? The establishment of a reconstruction bank in Ukraine. So BlackRock and JP Morgan Chase joined forces with the Ukrainian government to create this financial institution. And their goal is to channel public seed capital into ambitious rebuilding projects that have the potential to attract billions of dollars in private investment. But why would these financial powerhouses get involved in such an endeavor? Well, they're actually not getting paid right now. They're doing it pro bono. But it's not just because of altruism. This initiative provides BlackRock with an early glimpse into investment opportunities in Ukraine. None of this is going to start until victory happens. BlackRock recognizes that Ukraine needed a development finance bank to identify investment prospects in crucial sectors like infrastructure and climate and agriculture. And the plan is to make these opportunities appealing to pension funds and long-term investors. And JP Morgan's expertise in debt was seen as a valuable addition to the project. So as of now, the focus is on laying the foundation, setting up the structure, governance, and practical procedures, because most investors are waiting for hostilities to end. There's not too much going in or out. However, there are some cool key honorable mentions, you could say, of potential investors that are already going in there right now. But they want to be prepared to kickstart their building process as soon as the war is over. So during the Ukrainian infrastructure in London, Deputy Minister of Economy, his last name's hard for me, Alexander Grybin, maybe? Anyway, he painted a promising picture. And so he is obviously one of the advocates to having BlackRock there. He predicted that Ukraine would emerge as one of the world's top destinations for investors following the world. That's coming from the Ukraine government. He stressed the urgency of acting quickly and harnessing the private sector's experience and expertise in project management. And so kind of to the Lend-Lease thing, Ukraine would be in debt to the United States through the government. It's also going to be through the private sector with numbers up to the trillions. So recent examples illustrate
debt.
Well, not so much debt. I don't know. We're going to get there. Let me get there really quick. I don't know if it's going to be debt or not. I don't know how it's going to work, but I have an example I'm going to give out later. Yeah. So recent examples illustrate this growing confidence in Ukraine's potential. So like Nestle announced a substantial 43 million investment to establish a production facility in Western Ukraine, which for me, yeah.
They haven't left Russia yet.
I don't know. Their main point is to try to make money. Anyway, for me, it's personally a travesty because Nestle is annoying in my opinion, especially since they have Roshen. Just invest in Roshen. It's so much better than Nestle. And in November, the International Finance Corps, the IFC, the private investment arm of the World Bank, launched a $2 billion package to support Ukraine's private sector. But perhaps the most remarkable investment came from Andrew and Nicola Forrest, who provided $500 million to the Ukraine Green Growth Initiative through their Tatarang, I don't know. They're Australian. I don't get it. But they expect this investment to grow to $100 billion, and it aims to partner with global investors to accelerate Ukraine's reconstruction efforts. So the Ukraine Green Growth Initiative that I just mentioned has garnered support from Joe Biden, Michael Bloomberg, and Boris Johnson. and it's seen as a testament to the readiness of global business to help rebuild Ukraine once hostilities cease. In the second quarter, foreign direct investment in Ukraine surged by $439 million, which is a clear sign that there's growing confidence.
Second quarter financial year 2023?
I think it was 2022. I could be wrong though. It might be
Oh.
2023. I have the link in there somewhere. Now, this is all that's all big news, right? That's a lot of money coming in from a bunch of different foreign investors. We got Australia, we have Britain, we have America, and of course, BlackRock is this gigantic.
That's the Five Eyes.
Yeah, basically. And so
Five Eyes. So
the reason also that they're of course waiting for victory is because of the corruption concerns. Concerns about corruption continue to loom, and like potentially hindering the flow of much needed funds. Zelensky is even seen firing prominent government officials over the purported corruption actions and bribes. This has happened a couple different times that I saw kind of pop up across my feed. And so Ukraine is obviously trying to do their best to quell the corruption within their country, but that's an entirely different topic for an entirely different episode about corruption in Ukraine. So yeah, they've made a lot of efforts to combat corruption in recent years. They've established different various entities dedicated to this cause, yet the specter of oligarchic influence, judiciary capture, and strategic corruption remains. Despite these challenges, Ukraine has set ambitious goals, aiming to attract up to $400 billion in foreign investments across the different various sectors, like clean energy to defense to natural resources. And Zelensky believes himself that this represents the ending of this war represents the greatest opportunity in Europe since World War II, which there's a lot of merit behind that statement. At the end of World War II, the United States, like, we had war money. We were good after that. We don't really talk about where all that money came from.
The Marshall Plan rebuilt Europe. Yeah.
So, and I don't think it's wrong. I had thought this since the very beginning, and now seeing that these kinds of large names are kind of going in, they obviously see it. Now, is this war profiteering? Is this like what the critics had mentioned earlier? Is this like, what is the word? What capitalism? It's the my brain's a little fried right now. War profiteering.
Some kind of capitalism. Disaster capitalism.
Yeah. Do you think that this is disaster capitalism?
I mean, it's coming back to economics teachers. We had an example where it's talking about Hurricane Katrina and the power was out, and there was a dude, people that were out there selling generators for jacked up prices. And it was kind of a moral debate of like, yeah, he could give it away for free. Someone that's gone and like purchased 5 generators, but he's also providing an essential service functionally at this point, right? The market has defined the need, and this is, like it or not, it's a market. So is it the most ethical stance that could be taken? No. Do I have any idea in terms of like the comparative pricing and how shady it would or would not be? No. The question that I'm kind of curious is, now that you're mentioning all this, especially because they've gone from being, very strategically positioned within the upper echelons of Wall Street to starting to rub shoulders with the defense firms, does the timing indicate anything? Yeah. And does the timing indicate anything?
Yeah.
Right. So if there were,
they always say
this
follow
would be
the
taking
money
much longer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If there were indications that Ukraine were losing, or if there are indications that this is going to take another 3, 4, 5, whatever years, would they be anywhere close?
I don't know.
That's kind of the counter question.
Yeah. And do these investments actually, like, is it just for these foreign entities to make wealth, or is that wealth going to be in some way distributed to actual Ukrainians? That's my question. That's unclear to me at this point.
If they're a smart business, they're going to do the latter. They're going to probably pay through they're going to charge a shit ton of money, right? That's the whole point of the grants that are going to come in, I'm assuming. But they're also, I would assume, just trying to get like their foot in the door rather early in terms of establishing a presence where they'd be able to, have an official cooperation at some point when the European aid money actually does start coming in the forms of grants and whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And like, what is it going to look when somebody's trying to invest a ton of money in whatever market or sector? I'm curious, like, what would if there had to have been a sort of debt, like if someone's going to invest in a new gigantic factory, I don't know, just as an example, and they build these things, but they're building it on Ukrainian land. Maybe they're employing Ukrainian people. I have to imagine that there's going to be a debt component to this. And how is that debt going to be paid back? Or is it going to be given? I don't know. Again, not an economist. I don't have the answers to this. I don't like
debt component part of Fink, whose name I cannot take seriously at all. It also looks like a randomly generated CAO, like CEO number 94 with a slightly horizontally compressed face.
Yep.
But so you mean in terms of the manufacturers that they're going to build there, or
whatever ends up coming, whatever kind of foreign investment's going to be there, depending on, you had mentioned that tech is really, really big in Ukraine. There's the whole Silicon Valley, Ukrainian Silicon Valley. That's one of the sectors they're going to be investing in the most. It's just, I'm curious where the money's going to be going.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think so.
Thesis statement: give money to Ukraine. There is no good argument that we should not give money to Ukraine. There are only bad arguments. The money that you pay as a taxpayer to the DoD just by existing in the space is just orders of magnitude higher than anything you will ever pay. Maybe like I can't, in my natural lifetime, I cannot think of a better use of money that the United States has had. And everybody understands that. It makes sense. Lloyd Austin, like Artem says, understands this. That's why they got moving immediately. They get this shit. They understand the importance of this. Like bipartisan legislature came together and understood the importance of this until we got close to the elections, and then people started making noise. Okay.
Yeah. And I gotta say also, if any actual democratically elected politician says that the US should not be sending money to Ukraine in any shape or form, they are trying to distract from the justifications for actually doing so. It is not within your best interest to listen to somebody who says that we should not be supporting Ukraine.
Even if we 10x the money we send Ukraine, we couldn't even do it. We don't have the industrial capacity to do it. But just strictly we're ignoring the inflows. We didn't discuss any of the manufacturing inflows. We didn't discuss the fact that American factories are the ones that are making the shells. We didn't discuss the American factories are making the HIMARS. They're making all this shit that is being ordered not only by Ukraine, but by other NATO countries, right? So this is a huge amount of money we're talking about. And a very small chunk of it is going directly to Ukraine in the form of military aid, not cash, that they're using to wipe Russians off of their earth. So, it's just $40 billion is nothing. Is nothing compared to you name it.
So what's the ending tagline? Is it like, what was the initial research question? Is the US sending too much aid to Ukraine? Or no, rather, is the US sending a lot of aid to Ukraine? And I think the answer would be kind of. But not really.
We could be doing a lot more and the war would be over much quicker. I'm not sure what Biden had going on with the ATACMs recently. He was like, can we have the ATACMs? And yes. What does that mean? Yeah, but no. What? Just give them the guns. Let them end the war. Collect the bill later. Do what's right. There's not Americans dying out there. We are making money on this. This is the best advertisement that could possibly exist for all of our military technology. I can't imagine what 500 HIMARS units cost by itself that the Poles just bought.
But those are not the one transaction. It's just like long time deal. So it will be one after one after one. So they will not do anything like overnight, right? And it's a good deal for Poles because they have a plan. So it seems like very similar situation with the US government towards Ukraine. So they give some money, they see the reaction, they replan, and they go with another iteration. So it's not like money wasted for Ukraine's sake or for war's sake. So that's the money and the help, all the aid provided, it's some sort of reaction that they planned or thought or faced before. So they don't do it just out like, oh, we decided we found a new round in error and we can give it to Ukrainians. Like each aid has its own goal, and whether this goal is reached or not, so they replan and they try again. So it's some sort of iteration, some sort of scrum method that they do. And for with time, it will be clearer for us what's done and what was the purpose of that, because we don't know everything, because not many things are in public, in media.
Yeah, which is fine. That's a good thing.
That's
the next
normal.
stage is F-16s. Yeah, that's what I'd rather have. I'd rather not hear anything than listen to a bunch of idiots that think they know what they're talking about, try to talk about it. I'm waiting for the F-16s to come in. That's going to be beautiful. But
yeah, but that will enhance the events at the front line.
Yes, it will also speed the push.
Yeah, it will speed up everything, which is good for everyone. So for Ukraine, will finish the war faster. Yeah, and the consequences for Russians will also come faster, because anyway, they're now the level of isolation they have now, it will impact them in the long term. We would like it like short term, but it's impossible. We understand that
They have to buy ammo from North Korea, which is a level of desperation that I can't even imagine.
well, that's kind of, I mean, that's a good sign actually for all of us.
For us, yeah.
I mean, like you can't compare like you okay they have help, like they have aid from North Korea, and other country has help that from the United States of America. It's not comparable.
It's also, yeah, thank you, Artem, for pointing this out, Miles. We did not make this point. If you're against Ukraine, you are supporting the country that's hanging out with Iran and North Korea. So where the fuck does that leave you in a moral position? America, that is not America first. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I will semi-quote Mike Pence, who said in the Republican debates that you are small-minded if you think that the United States cannot focus on itself and also be a leader of the free world. If you believe that America exists for any reason, you should have an understanding of that. We did that same shit in World War II with Lend-Lease, as Artem said. We can continue fucking doing it today. This is a good policy. This is not some kind of,
Did you just
such an
channel
obvious win.
Did you just channel your inner like Boston accent just then? Was that one?
I don't know. I have no idea. I just got angry.
Angry Boston
I
man
don't know.
is your anger animal. It's funny. Alrighty.
I need a drink.